What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the YouTube Barber Academy. Today, you guys can see it at my station. I'm over here. I'm working with the new Gamma mat. What's really dope about this is it's actually got this little magnetic bar where I can put all my magnetic guards on. So I really like that, and I find myself being able to stay a little bit more organized. One thing I didn't like, or I never have liked about magnetic guards, is sometimes they could pick up like your scissors or something like that, and that can cause an issue. So having like a dedicated spot for that is just awesome. So my boy right here, we're gonna give him a nice fade. What's the plan, bro?
Usual, go with like the drop fade. Do like a skin fade with it as well, if that's possible.
Oh yeah, it's possible. I was hoping you'd say that. Yo, I got these Zuka capes, and they actually have their little neck guard on here, which keeps all the hair from getting under his skin, on his skin. So that's pretty dope to have that, because that does that. And then especially if I was gonna do like a shampoo or something, he won't get wet if I use this. Shut that door. Alright, so you can see that he kind of did like a hard part last time. You want to do that again? Cool, cool. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep a little bit more weight at the top so that I get the contrast in the blend. It can be really tricky to do this. So we're going to put our guideline in right about here, right at the bottom of the C cup. A tool of choice, I'm going to use a Saber with a taper blade on it, and I'm going to open it one click. I just want this to be a real soft guideline that's easy to take out. One look at hair like this, his hair is a lot like mine, and you just know the harsh guidelines are going to be pretty tough to take out. So you can go ahead and just kind of soften that guideline and make it easy on myself. Not really too worried about the hair down below. I'll get that with my trimmer in a second. We're just going to put a nice guideline in all the way around. All right, now that we got that first guideline in, be a good time to just remove the bulk off of the bottom. I use the flex trimmer for that. Flex is pretty damn strong. It'll just bust through that hair. My goal here is to stop a little bit before I hit that previous line. So that way I stay with that really soft kind of approach to the guide. For those of you guys who follow my system, you know this is phase one. Phase one is just removing the bulk. If his hair was much longer on top, I'd probably knock this down a little bit. But I like the length it's at, and I want to preserve some of that contrast, so I'm going to leave that alone. But I might have otherwise debulked that with like a 4, maybe a 5, something long so that I know I have control over that still. Some people like his and mine, if you go up too high with like a number 2, it'll look a lot shorter than with other clients. This trimmer is set hella close. And I can sort of see that my guideline is a little bit off right here, so I'm going to just stop for a second and fix that. Now my other camera here where you see the mat, you can kind of see the way I'm using this. I'm kind of using these backwards. So I've been just trying to stay organized and keep all the stuff that I'm using in the place that it belongs, so that I'm not like hunting down that little half guard that always goes missing or anything like that. On this side, because we don't have the hard part, we're probably going to have a little bit more room to work with there. But I like that, so let's bust off the rest of this. Take the Rebel. I'm going to come up close to where I stopped with the trimmer. And I'm going to reduce pressure, and I'm going to flick out. This Rebel is so fast and so good. I'll use it in this step here because this is a big wide area and it'll get through it pretty quick. But as we get around the sides there's not a lot of room, and I'd rather switch to a tool that would be better for that. The Uno, a single foil shaver. And if you guys haven't seen it, I did just do my first impressions on Babyliss' new UV foil shaver. Single foil shaver. It's probably like a I would say it's a direct competitor to this, but it's a lot more expensive. This one's like $50. And it's a little smaller than that one, so getting into these little hard to reach spots, perfect little tool for that. And I would hate to cut hair all day and not have one of these. especially when you're getting into this blending area. Like when you're getting into this blending area, tapping down and all the different little things you can do with this isn't going to cut quite like the double does. So you got a lot more maneuverability. Okay, so that's phase one. Phase two is clipper over comb, but there is really no clipper over comb to be done so far. So we'll go to phase three. Phase three is actually cutting the top. And I don't think we're going to take a whole lot off the top, but I want to cut it so it lays over a little better. So let's do that real quick. These Zuka combs are just badass, and they give you tons of control. I love how skinny this comb is. It just makes it really easy to kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm using a little bit of Johnny B, Code B. This product is 90% water and it has a tiny bit of hemp oil in it instead of using water.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, cool. Okay, so in phase three, I'm going to comb down the bangs first. And the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a little mohawk guideline in. Now, he just told me he doesn't want me to take too much. So I'm just going to make sure I neaten it up a little bit. So I got my mohawk guideline. That's going to be a stationary guideline. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to work off of it. And I'm going to have a stationary guideline and a traveling guideline. So as I lift this up, I got my guideline. As long as I'm up to 90 degrees, I'm good. And I can cut off of this guideline. Little tip for not cutting your fingers is don't open your shears too much. And don't cut past your second knuckle. So as you see, I'm just moving back in a little row here. And also off to the right side of this. Moving back in that little row. As long as you direct it out to 90 degrees, you're going to see part of your first guideline, the traveling guideline also. So as we go, our guide's getting wider. Something people do a lot of times in a hard part is they like to leave the area near the part really long. And what that does is that creates kind of a weight. And I could see that. I could see that on a customer who's just walking by in the streets. And it's really easy to fix that, and it doesn't actually serve any purpose most of the time. So watch what happens when I direct this out to 90 degrees, how much actually I can take off of this section. A pretty good amount. Now you'll notice that I've omitted the bangs, and I'm going to show you why. So now if I comb the bangs down, what I could do is I want to make just a little adjustment here. That's good. Now what I'll do is I'm going to blend the interior length to the exterior length. So you'll see what that looks like here. My exterior length ends right here. And my exterior length ends right here, and my interior length guideline is right here. So I'm just going to cut off this little kind of tip. What that'll do is that'll blend the front in a little better. So now that I got phase three pretty much done, I cut horizontally, so I'm going to check vertically. I'll just go through and this is a good time to add some texture. If you see any different lengths, you can adjust them. I see this is pretty good. And now we're good to go to phase four, the blend. Before I do the blend, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blow dry it. I want to see how the hair is laying and give me a better idea of like what I can and what I can't cut. All right, I got a much better idea of where that part's going to go. I got a much better idea of how this top is going to lay. And now, the cool thing about this system is you know where you're starting from, the bottom, which is skin, and we know where we're ending from, the top, which we cut with scissors. So we're just going to connect the two together. And it just seems like, I don't know if this was designed to work this way with everything facing you this way, but it seems cool because then I can set things here, but I could have it facing this way too. Okay, we're going to begin with an open taper, and then we're going to use our 2-click and flick method. So with the open taper, I'm just going to set a very kind of steep guideline, and I'm kind of pulling out. Very light guideline. With this first pass, I'm just trying to see how the hair reacts to it. Is it doing what I want? Do I gotta make it bigger? Now I'm gonna angle it down so that it is flat on the skin, and I'm gonna try to stay a little bit lower. This allows you to actually hit your open taper length appropriately. Alright, that looks pretty good, and being that I set this in so soft, the bottom part of this line is actually going to be very easy to knock out. So we're going to go back to 2 clicks. I'm just going to use the corner, and I'm just going to kind of flick into that area that might need a little help. And at this point, you can feel free to kind of close it down and just use a few teeth, like 2 or 3 teeth. That's kind of what I like to do. And I can see exactly what I'm doing. I could open it 1 or 2 clicks and just kind of do a little bit of lever play. I always like to start with 2 clicks and then I move on from there. And I can tell that's going to blend out really nice. I'm going to create some more space for myself in this blend. We're going to move to the next step. I'm actually going to skip over the number 1 just because of how his hair is, and I'm going to go right to the 1 1/2. But always 2 clicks, 1, 2. So with these 2 clicks, I can go up a little higher. I have a little bit of freedom here, and I can see how the hair reacts before I grab the 1. Sometimes with really fine hair, over the course of the years of doing this, I've just learned that, sometimes you just want to jump up or 1 or 2 steps just to give yourself a little cushion there. Because if I would have went in here with the number 1 and I went too high, I'm going to remove some of this darkness. And remember, I told you in the beginning, my goal is to try to keep what that sort of is and find the best way to blend into it. I'm going to open it now. Just using like 2 teeth. I have it completely tipped sideways. And I'm just trying to break up any of those areas that seem a little bulky. That looks good. You guys can see why I skipped that number 1. I mean, that number 1, if I go to the 2 clicks now I know I can stay pretty dang low just using the 2 teeth. Really, I'm mainly kind of going over it just like this, just a couple teeth. This is actually a Gamma Dub number 1. This is what they're calling they have a tight 1, a tight 1/2, and they have a tight half guard. So they're a little closer and they're a little better matching the wall. So that was just with the 2 clicks. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to close it all the way. I'm going to repeat that step. I seen a video the other day of somebody talking about when to use what side of the corner. In my own personal style, I don't really care which corner you use. It's sort of like whatever feels comfortable, whatever gets the hair to stand up, and whatever can cut it. But I guess if you're dealing with some wicked growth patterns, just try to do your best to go against the grain. And never be afraid to open it up a little bit and travel over a section before you go back. So, all right, now I could see probably the half guard and definitely a little bit of work needs to be done in the transition area, but it's coming together pretty nicely in that area of the blend. So I'll go half guard, 2 clicks always, and go up a little, see what effect that has, especially with the half guard. This 2 clicks is an essential part of this, because if you go in there with it fully closed, it's actually going to cut closer than an open taper. So we want to use these guards the most effective way we can. Now I can go ahead, I can start closing them. See what that does. I feel like I got my light kind of coming really not so hot from, this is actually a little aperture light that I'll use for just this case. But I see all the different colors, but no, that's so now, like with the light actually hitting them from the side, I can kind of see a little bit better of where I need to go. I realize that's probably not super great on camera. Okay, so just being able to kind of see exactly what it is I'm doing now. Now I can see all these little adjustments super easy. I mean, ideally this light would be on a stand, but I really want this haircut to come out perfect. So even if I got to hold it a little bit just to kind of see exactly, I mean, look at the difference, night and day. All right, I like that. Let me go back to the one. I got it fully open. Let's see if I can bust up some of that. Even if you follow all your steps to the T, it's very possible you're going to have to do some rule breaking. So I kind of look at this portion of my blend as kind of like the troubleshooting phase, where you're looking at different little things that aren't perfect and you're finding ways to fix them. So sometimes that might mean skipping up a guard, skipping down a guard. I mean, it could be anything. Hair always reacts a little different every time. So now I have it all the way down to an open taper. Let's see if I can bust into some of that. Love it. It's my favorite part of the haircut, y'all. When it just starts coming together in the way that, you know, this looks really nice. Well, that looks super clean. So it is time to pick up a fade blade. So now with the fade blade, this is just going to help me to get that little transition between the trimmer and the electric shaver better. You can create an easy line with this if you're not careful. So move easy. That looks sharp. I realize your guys' view in that camera is not really showing me exactly what I'm seeing, but what I'm seeing here is a really nice looking blend so far. A little shear over comb, little texturizing shear, and that'll be perfect. So I'm gonna jump over to the other side and kind of repeat the same steps. We done with this one here. Check that out. Fade comes through just right. Did what we could to keep that weight towards the top so that this whole thing could blend out like it does. And I did enhance the front a little bit. I used a actually I tried using beige, but beige didn't really work as well, so I wound up using the white, and then a little bit just to kind of enhance his edge, because he's got a lot of hair here, but I can't really make a great line out of it. So it's just a cool way for him to have a line like that for a couple of days. But yeah, man, hope you guys like the cut. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something. And this is the YouTube Barber Academy. I'm Mr. Eddie Barber, and I'm out of here. Peace.